guys, Blake with Sutter Nugent Real Estate here, and I have two very special guests on today's episode. I am here with Michael Fuhrman of Cross Country Mortgage.
Clapping for myself.
And I'm also sitting here across from me is Andre Despointes, also known as AKA FRENCHYSELLS.
How you doing?
It's good to have you guys on the show today. I'm super stoked, super excited. We're going to talk a lot of things about real estate in the general world, give these people some knowledge and some insight and some helpful tips.
Perfect.
Let's do it. Let's go.
Perfect. So we'll start off with you, Michael. Who are you? We know your name's Michael, but the people want to hear, who's this guy in this white shirt with Cross Country Mortgage written on it?
Okay. Thanks for having me again, Blake.
Of course.
Again, Michael Fuhrman with Cross Country Mortgage. So a little bit about me. I'm a 1980s child. I used to have the mullet and the long hair back in the 80s.
I don't believe you.
Yeah.
You didn't have a mullet.
I had nice hair. Black and everything.
So you're saying this industry from the 80s, it lost the hair, the mullet's gone because of this industry? Is that what you're saying?
I have a lot of gray hair, and I can name every deal that gave me that gray hair. But born and raised in Long Island, New York. And then I moved down to Florida in high school, and I was in college for a little bit, and then I decided to go into the mortgage business back in 2003.
Okay, and what truly inspired you to go into that industry?
Well, honestly, at that point, I was just looking for my next venture and looking for an opportunity to get into a business where I'm going to learn a lot and start, really going into sales. So started the mortgage business back in 2003. Now, these guys are a little bit younger than I am. 2003 was a different time in the mortgage world. Had a lot of different crazy loans. The guy at McDonald's who could qualify for a mansion.
Okay.
So I was in the mortgage world for about 3 or 4 years, and then the crash happened. And I said, you know what? I'm going to take a couple steps back, and I decided to go back to school and went to FAU. Go Owls.
Hoot.
Go Owls.
Nice. Hoot.
So then, graduated and then ended up going back to New York City, and I met a lovely lady in New York City, my wife. We moved to New Jersey and got back into the mortgage business kind of when COVID happened. And I was licensed in New York, New Jersey, and Florida. And then I looked at my wife at some point. I said, "Why are we still in New Jersey? Let's go down to the palm trees." And
you made the trek just like
we made
about
the trek.
40% of other people from up north.
Like
A lot of us. So thank you for having us, South Florida.
We're always welcoming. The door is open, state's open.
Yes, absolutely. We'd like to bring you more of you down here. Most of us say that. Some of us may not say that.
So you mentioned a little bit before that you work for Cross Country Mortgage. Now, who is Cross Country Mortgage?
Yeah, so Cross Country Mortgage, we're a direct lender. We're not a mortgage broker. Everything is done in-house, processors, underwriting, etc. We have offices all over the country. I'm located significantly in Boca Raton, Florida. But we just do a phenomenal job with working within the neighborhood, and our mission statement is to become the most referred lender in all neighborhoods.
And I can contest to that because being a real estate agent, so can Andre, is we come across deals as listing agents, and I know personal hands-on that anytime I see a buyer that is pre-approved from Cross Country, we somewhat get an ease of mind that it is in the right hands, it's going to be handled the correct way, there shouldn't be really any hiccups, and if there is hiccups, it's going to be dealt with right then and there. Which leads me to my next question is, with all these mortgage companies out there, all these mortgage brokers, what made Cross Country stand out for you to say, hey, I want to be a part of this. I want to grow at this. I love what they're doing. You know, if you can shed some light on what truly drove you to become part of that cross-country family and team.
Understood. Yeah. So actually, I had a friend of mine who's in the mortgage business. He actually does not work for cross country, but you know, I reached out to him when I was getting ready to go back into the business, and I said to him, if you were going back into the business, which company would you want to work for? He gave me two names, and cross country was one of them. So did a lot of research on the company, and I just like everything that they do, how they handle, internally, how they work on the files. It's really a team effort over there, and as you guys know, it's very important for a team atmosphere because no one could do this stuff alone.
No, and I've definitely heard some crazy stories, as we all have in the real estate world, and I could say personally, cross country has definitely saved a couple of deals of mine, as well as a couple of deals for other buyers as well, which leads me to some of your success stories. Michael and I, just a little backstory here. I had a deal that was supposed to close on time, and we ran into some hiccups with some other mortgage lenders. We won't mention who they are. But at the end of the day, they could not get the job done. And me as a listing agent, I was stuck in a hard place where I would have to make that call to that seller and say, hey, we're going to have to go over the buyer's escrow because they're technically in default now, and go back to market and start showing it again, open houses, and the whole circus act. And with my back pinned against the fence, I said, you know what? I have nothing to lose. I'm going to give Michael a call. And I gave Michael that call. He immediately picked up and said, with straight confidence in his voice, I can get the job done. So we connected Michael with the proposed buyer, and Michael took it over, and I'm going to let him finish the story because it truly is an eye-opener of what they accomplished, the time frame they got it done, and were able to navigate a successful close at the end of the day.
That was a good one.
I still have nightmares.
Yeah. So, we got a phone call, I believe, on Sunday from Blake, basically going through the situation. And basically, the other lender didn't really disclose some debts that the buyer would have to pay off in order to get the mortgage. After reviewing the file and everything, I realized that this was done completely incorrectly by the other lender. So we were able to, listen, these loans, it's a lot like a puzzle. It's really, you got to find the right puzzle pieces. And luckily on that loan, I'm going to use a fugitive line. I don't know if it's outdated, but I found a big piece. So I was able to, exactly. So I was able to connect all the dots. I was able to put the loan together the correct way. So we had the loan filled out on Sunday. Monday, the loan was processed. Appraisal was ordered. Came out on Tuesday. Came back to us Wednesday. Cleared to close on Friday, and then closed on Tuesday because it was actually a mail away closing. So it was just an unbelievable job by myself and my team, by Blake. It just shows what can be done when everyone's on the same page and everyone really understands the file. And that's kind of, I believe, the difference in myself for one, and Cross Country Mortgage as a whole is, we take time to understand the file. We're not going to just yes you to death and have something, go wrong in the bottom of the ninth inning. We address everything kind of right away up front. So when you do get into contract and you're ready to go, it's really more of a waiting game to closing, not frantic getting documents and things like that.
Very well said. Very well said.
Thank you.
So, if there is someone who is a potential home buyer, right? What are the key factors that a potential home buyer should consider when selecting a mortgage broker, as well as what type of mortgage? Because we all know there's different types of mortgages out there.
Correct. Listen, everyone wants to get the best deal out there, of course. You know, and there's no question about that. But you need to make sure when you are shopping around, one, that everyone's comparing apples to apples, and number two, most importantly, is the person on the other line is not just quoting you a rate. You know, you really need to get into the mix of the file. There's so many new rules and new price adjustments that affect the rate. So when you get a phone call saying, "Oh, I know someone that got a 6% interest rate," which these days is really good.
Yeah, well, we're comparing it to, you can't compare it to pandemic numbers, because we know those numbers were a fluke, an outlier on an algorithm.
Absolutely.
We probably will never see those 2 and 3% interest rates ever again. We might, but
if I was
I don't have a
man,
crystal
I'd say
ball,
no.
you know?
Yeah. If I was a betting man, I would have to say no. Having said that, I do think that the end of this year, we will see rates go down. We're almost there, folks. We're almost there.
That's good. That's definitely insightful, especially with Andre and I being real estate agents. We always are asked from our clients, when am I going to get a 3% interest rate? When am I this? Or I think a lot of agents can contest to this is a lot of the statements that are being said by buyers right now is, I want to wait. It's too expensive.
Yeah.
The rates are too high. And Andre, as a successful listing agent and buyer's agent, how do you navigate that when your clients say to you, I want to wait till the market crashes, I want to wait till mortgage rates come down? How does one in yourself, in your shoes, navigate that and overcome that objection?
Yeah, that's definitely one of the most common questions that I always get asked, and I've been asked that question pre-COVID, during COVID. I always say this, look, if you bought before the pandemic, you would have tripled your money. There's always people who don't want to buy are always going to find an excuse not to buy.
Very true.
Look at right now, the interest rates are almost, they were almost at 7%. People are still buying, houses are still selling, people are still moving to Florida.
Transactions are still happening every single day.
Every single day. So those are the type of people, at the end of the day, they're still renting their home for a reason.
Very true. Very true. And Andre, give us a little bit of a background of, who you are, who do you work for, as well as how long you've been doing this, because from the numbers wise, you've had great success. You closed, I want to say, $25 million in real estate last year, which is tremendous from a solo agent in South Florida, which is a very saturated market from agent perspective wise. I think there's roughly around 28,000 agents in Palm Beach County alone, and you were able to do 25 million. So
everyone's either a realtor or lender in Palm Beach.
Pretty much.
I think 1 in 5 people statistically have their real estate license.
That's crazy to think.
Insane.
Crazy to think. And it truly shows that you were able to do that amount of volume, that you definitely bring a lot of knowledge, value, and experience to the table, that continuous times people still come to you to use your experience as well as your value.
Yeah, I hope they do.
A
little bit of background about me. So originally, I was born in the French Caribbean. It's called Martinique. It's in the French West Indies. I moved here when I was 5 years old, but I pretty much am more American than French. I still go by FRENCHYSELLS. That's my trademark. I work for Sutter Nugent, obviously with my colleague Blake. We have 7 offices. We're a boutique brokerage, but we offer luxury global service. You know, we're not just realtors. You can attest to this, Blake. You know, we give you a painter. We give you a lender in this case. We give you everything. You know, I have
A
guy-
Rolodex of vendors at the end of the day.
A
We want to be a
Rolodex, yeah, there you
go-to
go.
source for any
100%.
situation you have.
100%. And I always say I'm not a one transaction type of realtor. Maybe this is, going back to your point, this is what sets me apart. I'm not here to just sell their house and move on to the next. I want them to use me for their sister, for their grandmother. I always say I'm not a one and done type of guy. I want to be your realtor for life.
You said an agent for life with this clientele, and
100%.
and having that Rolodex of vendors like Michael in cross country, you want to work with the best in the industry as well,
Right.
because in my perspective, real estate agents are someone of the front line. If something goes south, a deal goes crazy, the real estate agent is usually the first one to get blamed. And by having a strong team of cross country being able to get mortgages done in a record fashion time, the top end inspectors, insurance brokers, you name it, that also speaks your reputation as well as theirs, where it's a match, it's a pair that, hey, you're using me, you're using A, B, and C vendor.
Yeah.
We're all working for the same end goal. And we're going to give you our best of the best. It's nothing less. And time again with successful closings and doing deals with Michael, it's been repetitive, consistent success. Not only from an industry perspective, but from a clientele perspective, where you can look at the reviews. It speaks. They see the value that you and your vendors bring to the table, and being able to sleep at night as an agent knowing that cross country is on the file, whether it's the listing side, and you have the buyer, or you're the listing agent and cross country is representing the buyer, you can have a little bit of ease of mind saying, I know, hiccups come, obstacles come, we have to deal with it, problem solved, but just seeing cross country come around, that, okay, it's in the best hands possible, and I know this deal is going to probably see the light of day, as you can probably contest to that.
Yeah, I'd say it's come a household name. Yeah.
And listen, to kind of piggyback with what you're saying with all the vendors and everything you have, a lot of people are coming from out of state, such like myself. So a lot of people don't have a painter, they don't have an electrician, they don't have an inspector.
They're going online. They're typing in mortgage broker, and everybody's paying to be the top on Google. But at the end of the day, word of mouth, reviews, and not only that, actual experience is what's going to really set it apart from other mortgage brokers and other real estate agents in this industry when it's so saturated.
Yes, absolutely. Because there's so many people here that say they could do the job, but there's only a few that actually do the job.
100%.
Look at that. You guys like that was a good one. That was a good one. Right off the cusp on that one.
So, Michael, can you somewhat share some insights on the current market right now from a mortgage broker's perspective? Why would it be lucrative? With me mentioning prior how so many people right now are saying, I'm going to wait till rates come down. I'm going to wait for a housing crash to happen. What are some insights from a mortgage perspective that would incentivize someone to continuously purchase in a thriving South Florida real estate market still?
Absolutely. It's a great question. So I'm licensed in New York, New Jersey, and Florida. So as you guys know, more than I do, there's just no supply here.
Of course, I think someone I read the other day on a platform that truthfully, ever since 2008, listings wise or inventory wise, we've never been able to truthfully recover.
Yeah.
And it seems like we were somewhat recovering, and then boom, COVID.
Yeah.
And COVID, dropped our numbers tremendously. I remember checking 2020. And in our MLS, the beaches, it was like there's 52,000 listings from St. Lucie to Miami. And I think during the prime of COVID, those numbers dropped to like 12 or 14,000 total from
Yeah.
all types, from single family homes, condos, you name it. It was drastic, and people having to waive appraisals, waive inspections, basically almost donate your first child to get a deal done.
It's your firstborn to get the house.
Yeah, donate a kidney too. So,
But having said that, and as you guys are probably seeing more down here, is like the open houses now. There's 20, 25, 30 groups showing up. So people are still buying homes, and like what I tell my clients is, the interest rate is what it is. Having said that, I highly, highly doubt that these people will be in a mortgage for the 30 years.
no, I think
let alone 12 months.
I think the statistic is, on average, the average person nowadays maybe spends 7 to 10 years in a home, give or take. There's no divorce, job relocation, or financial or personal reasons, but 7 to 8 years is probably the going rate, I would say, right now.
Exactly, and listen, anyone that has an interest rate right now of 7%, as soon as those rates get back in the 5s, all of them are going to refinance.
Of course.
So it's all about if you're in love with the home. That's the most important thing, and
Wait, what'd you say that? Say that one more time.
you got to be in love with the home.
So the phrase I'm hearing, what is it?
Date the rate, marry the home.
No, I won't say that. I'm not going to say that.
That phrase has been thrown out a couple times there.
Couple. Oh, every other person it was that. I didn't say that.
Brainwashed over here,
They said that. But especially where we are, even if
Sunny
there's-
South Florida.
yeah, even if there's a housing crash, we're not going to really feel it down here.
No, and our broker Talbot Sutter has mentioned previously, and I think other high-end brokers have also, is that Palm Beach County, from a demographic, financial speaking, is very, very strong. And to say what you just said is, if something was to happen, and I don't want to use the word crash because that might scare some people, I would use a healthy correction.
Mm-hmm.
That Palm Beach County would probably be the last to feel it and probably the first to come out of it.
Absolutely.
Because we're still getting people, it might not be from the bus loads like it was during COVID, but there still is a huge demand of people coming down here.
Yeah.
Now, I can contest and say, from my personal experience with my clients, that there is a lot of buyers, there's a lot of cash transactions going on, but the buyers are a little bit more patient, a little bit more picky. And, with COVID and the equity that has gained, we've seen our price floor go up, our price ceiling gone up. So the home that used to be, the bread and butter of $500,000 probably has a 7 in front of it right now.
Yeah.
And, with rates going up, increasing from COVID numbers, those people that were pre-approved might be struggling a little bit. So from a mortgage broker, someone in that situation, what can you do to guide them and say, it's completely okay, you're still in great hands, this is what we're going to do to accomplish this and create you to be a homeowner?
Yeah, so there's a couple of ways. There's some creative ways that we have. We do have some programs where if the realtors were able to get like seller's concessions, we would be able to take that seller's concession and apply it to what's called a 2-1 buy down. So just to quickly explain the 2-1 buy down, let's just say the rate is 6%. We are paying the upfront interest for the first 2 years. So the first year, let's say the rate would be 4%, and then the second year the rate would be 5%, and then it would go back on third year to 6%. All seller's concession, not
Okay.
it doesn't come out of pocket for the buyer or anything like that. Now let's just say a year from now rates go down and they want to refinance.
Yeah.
So that money in that escrow account, that extra money that's every month being applied to the mortgage, will just become a principal reduction. So that's free money.
And that program has always been around? It's new?
always been around. It's obviously very popular now. I'm sure you probably have seen it on the on Facebook, 1 or 200 times.
Yeah.
But it is a great program to combat the high interest rates. And during COVID and everything, there was no such thing as a seller's concession. So
Correct.
another reason why it might be a good reason why is you'll have a little bit more leeway now. You're not battling 15 offers. Some houses, I guess you are now.
Yeah, there's still some bidding wars happening here and there. You are still seeing it, but it's not crazy. It's I would classify it as not really a seller's market, not really a buyer's market.
Mm-hmm.
But if I had to look at it, the needle is probably flickering or ticking more towards the buyer's side. And just some of the sellers are still highly priced.
Yeah, I think if it's priced right, it'll go quick right now. That's the main thing. Seller confidence is an issue. I mean, it's always been an issue, and now with COVID, their confidence went through the roof.
I saw Zillow. My house was worth this.
The good old estimate.
Zillow lost $15 billion on those estimates.
Yeah,
crazy.
So that's what I always tell my clients. Zillow sees statistically your zip code, but they don't look inside your home.
And I think I remember seeing this during COVID, that the owner or founder of Zillow listed his house, I want to say $8 million over his owns estimate.
Oh, interesting.
So, not to, throw some shade, but, you know what I mean? If that doesn't say anything, I don't know what else will, you know what I mean?
Yeah, but just to follow up on that, and then the second reason, and I'll leave it at this, for everyone who's watching this or listening to this, I want you to raise your hand if you have been in your loan for 30 years. I'll give them a couple seconds to raise their hands. I bet you most of them...
I'm hearing a lot of crickets.
Yeah, most of them are not in that.
And I would say that there is probably a few still out there.
Yeah.
And I think personally, from a professional standpoint, the people that have, not saying there's nothing wrong with you owning your home scot-free, but you've been in the home for 30 plus years. I think that somewhat has to do with the lack of inventory also, because that's also taking inventory away from first-time home buyers, second-time home buyers. You have Betty Sue that's lived in her house for 50 years.
Mm-hmm.
Not saying that she probably needs to move, but we did see a lot of hedge funds come and seize a lot of properties.
Yeah.
We saw a ton of investment properties get grabbed. You got to think there's no turnover rate when a landlord now is
just renting out.
Renting it out. That takes away inventory. So that does go to it that there might be a select few that haven't had their mortgage for 30 plus years, but the ones that still do, I think they've not intentionally, but have somewhat contributed to this lack of inventory. And then you throw COVID into it, and it's almost like a three-headed dragon that just went AWOL.
Yeah, and then you throw in the people that have, those COVID interest rates, the 2.5, 2.
I'll raise my hand to that one. You know what I mean?
2.75. But it's like I'm a prisoner of my own home.
Of course, because not only that is with the increase in real estate prices. Speaking, South Florida saw a tremendous amount of growth equity-wise, and that's not going to just disappear overnight. But for me to go out and buy something now, knowing what my house is worth, I know it's almost not even worth that.
Yeah.
But if I want to move, if it's in a great school district or a job relocation, I really don't have a choice but to pay somewhat what they're asking, get pre-approved for that rate that's currently there, knowing that 2 years ago, I got a house for probably, 150, 200K less with a perfect rate that we'll never see again. So me, being a homeowner, taking my realtor cap off, Michael, should I sell and capitalize on that equity and lose that, rate that I got during COVID and go purchase? Or would it be almost strategic to me to somewhat hold on to that house and possibly go buy something and keep this as maybe
It's funny that
an
you're asking
investment
that.
property.
You lead them right into what
You know, maybe we got some telepathical thing going
Yeah, I
on.
don't know. So what's going to help inventory, in my opinion, is when these rates finally come back down to let's just say 5%. The people that have interest rates in the 3s or the low 4s, even the high 2s, they're going to be more opportunistic. There we go. If it works for them to sell their home, because no one's going to go from a 2.75 to a 7%.
That's a huge payment drop.
Yeah, unless they had to relocate or things like that. But when these interest rates start coming back down, which again should be much sooner than later, I think inventory is going to go up, and it's really going to take care of a lot of problems that we're seeing, especially down here with not a lot of homes being available.
Yeah.
And that could kind of help also with, stabling out prices, because prices are still going up.
Yeah.
Because there's no homes available.
No, there still is an increase. I would say it's not a tremendous increase from
But
what we
yeah,
saw,
still
but
an
it's
increase.
still inching up,
Yeah, I think it was
And-
5 to 6% statistically.
And on a normal year, that's a great year.
That's a great, and that's why they always say real estate is one of the best ROIs for your money.
Yeah.
So that's pretty much it.
Yeah, that's
You
pretty
know?
much it. I think we got through a lot of stuff today.
We did. It was a lot of knowledge, a lot of insight. Both these guys have commented on some tips.
We got the mom and the lawn out there now.
I'm gonna have to edit that guy out right there. But yeah, I can't believe this.
We're in a plaza.
Yeah, we're shooting out of our Delray office here right now, and the landlord has done tremendous work to
Great upkeep.
maintain our environment over here. But yeah, so thank you to Michael Fuhrman of Cross Country Mortgage. Thank you to Andre Despointes of AKA FRENCHYSELLS for being on today's show, sharing not only you guys' knowledge of the current real estate market, but some helpful, insightful tips to help people out there. If you're listening, give one of these guys a call. They'll be happy to help you out, happy to get you a new home, and I'll leave it at that.
Let's go yell at this guy.